Hello, and welcome to the UNPL Academy. I believe it is week 5. We're already halfway through this league. I'm Zan, the coach of your San Diego Hydres, and we're doing pretty good right now. We're 3-1 plus 13 differential. We're feeling pretty good about the matches we've had so far. Obviously, we did lose one game, although I feel like we've been pretty commanding with the others, and I think this week's battle is where that kind of comes to an end. Looking at the records of the people we're playing against for the next few weeks, we're going against a lot of people who are also positive. So I think we've got some tough battles ahead of us. So it's going to be fun. One of those battles is our opponent this week, Novablader, I believe is how you say it. You might want to correct me. I don't think it's Novablader, but anyway, Novablader and the Bermuda Kecleons are our opponent this week. Another really good battler. He has a positive differential. He's 2-2, but you know, a really good battler from what I've seen. I really like the videos. His battling style is straightforward and annoying, kind of like me. So like he has a regenerator core. He just made a couple of transactions that I think actually helped his team a ton. Essentially picked up Enamorous Incarnate form and Hisuian Samurott. So he really never has to click Stealth Rocks or Spikes because he has both the Pokemon that set them through an attacking move, which is pretty scary. I'm going to put his team on screen, but I'm not going to go through the Pokemon piece by piece because you all know what these Pokemon do at this point. I'm trying to cut down on my intro time because I feel like it's taking way too long. So yeah, just to hit some high points. Out of his Terra Captains, I think Fairy Colossal comes versus me. I don't know if it'll be AV or Heavy Duty Boots, but I'm almost sure he'll bring the Fairy Colossal. All three of his Terra Caps are Fairy and Ground as their non-stabs, which totally fair when he didn't have a Ground and didn't have a Fairy before he got Enamorous, so all that makes sense. I just feel like Colossal walls out more of my team, and Electrode really struggles to hit certain things. And then Crocolore, just unaware. My team doesn't have that much setup, so I don't know that he'd need it, but who knows? Maybe it shows up instead. And then I think Samurott doesn't really match up that well into me. Samurott Hisui, even though it can set spikes, I just think that I have a few mons that just flat out beat it. So I do think he brings the Colossal and some combination of kind of his big six being Iron Boulder, which I guess where it's new enough, it's just a weirdly specially bulky physical attacker with a 100% accurate rock move that's 95 base power called Mighty Cleave. I think if he brings it this week, it's going to be sub 3 attacks or sub 2 attacks Sword Stance. It just makes too much sense into Sucker Punch and First Impression because I have 2 Sucker Punches and 1 First Impression mon, so I just think he has to bring that. His regen core is very possible. Slowking Galarian and the Hydrapple are both super annoying for me to deal with just because they complement each other's weaknesses honestly really well between the ground and the ice, kind of bouncing off the other. Cleavor might come as a lead, but he might actually leave it on the bench. I don't know that it looks that good into me outside of getting one big hit off, but we'll see. And then Volcanion kind of matches up with its 4 attacking moves set. Maybe runs Boots 4 attacks because Sludge Wave and Earth Power give him really good coverage into things that Water and Fire don't hit. And then Enamorous is just annoying. If it shows up, it might be Scarfed. Not sure. Could be Specs. If it's Specs, it's a big problem. If it's Scarf, it's slightly less of a problem, but still annoying. But anyway, I feel pretty good about our matchup. So this is recording on a Tuesday, and I've only had a couple days to prep, and I kind of completely reworked the team twice with kind of what's become a front office group of friends that we've been helping each other with draft. So we'll quickly go over what I'm bringing. So Pokemon number 1, Sinistcha, our favorite DLC Pokemon. I love this thing so much. It's so good into every matchup. And this one's no different. Honestly, Heat-proof Steel-type looks really good into his team. Most of his Pokemon that can run ground and fighting coverage can't run them on stabs, so they don't get that boost. So we're looking pretty good if we can get set up with an Iron Defense or a Calm Mind, or preferably both. So I'm liking Sinistcha as a late-game win con in this matchup. I don't even know that it's the Mon we Terra this week. It's just an option. We've got the Slitherwing is next on the list. This is kind of a breaker set this week. We got the booster energy. We want to come out once, do a lot of damage, and then kind of go down swinging is hopefully the plan. Just because we needed all this coverage into his team. Leech Life is good healing. Hits a lot of things for neutral, if not super effective. Things like Hydrapple and Samurai, we can just hit for really big damage. We're adamant max attack with a booster on attack, so that's pretty huge. Earthquake is really nice for pre-Terrid Colossal, as well as the Slow King and the Volcanion and the Boulder. Just good, super effective coverage. Wild Charge is specifically for the Enamorous. We hope to get a Trailblaze up before Enamorous comes in, so that either it confirms it's Scarfed, or we can do huge damage, maybe even knock it out with a Wild Charge. So that's kind of the hope there. Definitely wanted to run Fighting coverage because it was fairly spammable, but at the end of the day, it wasn't as good as any of this coverage. Next up, we've got Screamtail, and we're bringing support back, even though it had a great sweep last week. I do think the support set makes a lot of sense here. Sorry if you heard the mechanical noise in the back. That's like the automatic cat feeder. So we've got dual screens, Light Clay. Just so good with our setup mons. We're bringing 2 or 3, I guess technically 2 setup Pokemon this week, and this facilitates that super well. Encore means we're never going to be set up on while we're setting screens, and then Gleam just gives us something to deal damage. I almost wanted Thunder Wave, but honestly, Taunt or you know, just certain Pokemon would take advantage of us not having an attack so badly that it just couldn't really risk it. Got the Quillfish, once again, a setup set. Really not using this thing as defensively as I expected to. But it was going to be a Swords Dance Cinderace, I will say. And just decided this is stronger, literally, where Cinderace loses its stab coverage if you Swords Dance. It becomes a normal type. It was just better to run dual stab plus Aqua Jet Quillfish. It gives us a good check into the Boulder. Dark and Poison kind of just run through his whole team. It's kind of insane. And then we've got enough special bulk to eat 1 hit from a non-boosted Volcanion or an Enamorous, so we're looking pretty good there. So I like this guy as like a mid to late game. The Intimidate's really nice if we need to pivot that in. But I think this or Sinistcha is our main win con at the end of the day. We've got the Kilowattrel. I like Scarfed Kilowattrel. I was struggling so hard to find a lead against this guy. Like, everything he has a favorable lead, especially the Cleavor and the Samurott. So I was like, let me just lead something that has to be faster than everything except Scarfed Electrode. This Scarfed max speed, it outspeeds Booster Boulder, which is really nice for us. Thunderbolt, Volt Switch do big damage. He doesn't have a ground type outside of his Terra Caps, so that's huge. We got the Terra Blast Ground. I'm not going to click this early, but if we need to later in the game, since just Steel typing's not looking that good, we can have this Terra Ground as kind of our late game cleaning if his last Pokemon are like Boulder, Slowking, and Volcanion. Especially if we can get rid of the Enamorous, then Terra Ground, Choice Scarfed, Terra Blast looks really good. Then Air Slash, you know, flinch chances are always nice, and if we need to hit the Hydrapple. Terra Ice would have hit Hydrapple significantly harder, as well as hitting Enamorous and Electrode, but I don't know. I just didn't think it was as good as Ground for hitting things that Kilowattrel can't really damage otherwise. And finally, we've got Donphan this week. Just max attack, max health pretty much. Just a little bit of speed in case he tries to creep us with Hydrapple. Earthquake, Gunk Shot, Ice Spinner, it just dunks on his entire slow core. I think it's really good. And then Rapid Spin is to boost our speed and then get rid of hazards if you decide to set them. This is our only good Cleavor switch in, so we've got to use it for that, but it's also kind of an emergency check to the Iron Boulder if it gets set up and beats down our other Pokemon. So yeah, that's what we're bringing. Not bringing Cinderace. I thought the setup set was pretty good on Cinderace, but it usually gets revenged or subbed on, so at the end of the day, I didn't think it was that good. Walking Wake is taking a break this week, which is kind of crazy. I know it's kind of an MVP Pokemon, but it just struggles so hard to break the regen core. He has good immunities into both my stabs, and then I would have to run either speed or special attack booster, and if I run either of those, it's not great. The original team was going to be Sun, and then Ninetales just felt really awkward into this, and we didn't have enough checks into certain things, so I just couldn't justify bringing the Sun core. Bisharp, once again, sucks. I would have loved to have brought it at some point, but it just needs to be dropped at this point, honestly. It's not doing anything for me. Knuckle Stack actually looked really good. It's just that Slowking kind of nullifies it completely, because it comes in, Assault Cure, deal, 12 plus a little bit, and then he Chilly Receptions out and doesn't take the Salt Cure again. And then he gets to pivot in slower than us. So the next thing that comes in isn't salt cured, and he ends up healing back all that damage with Regenerator. So it's just not really worth it. And that's kind of all it can do. So not great. And then Levani, we don't need webs this week. The original plan was to court change away his hazards, but it just kind of moved away from that idea. Cinderace really only looked good as a setup or a Scarfer, and at the end of the day, we just had better options. So yeah, that's the team. We'll get right into the battle. All right, and we are back searching for the battle. He should be ready to go. I'd just like to thank my opponent real quick. He was so nice. I had a puppy surgery come up out of nowhere, and he was super understanding and pushed the battle back later than he wanted to go, so I really appreciate it. Oh, no Colossal. It's the Crocalor, which is fine. I think Crocalor is generally easier for me to deal with. No Electrode. He brought the Samurott, which is kind of crazy to me. Oh my gosh. He didn't bring so many good things. No Volcanion. He did bring the Hydrapple. No Boulder. Oh, that's so nice. I was so scared of it. I thought it was going to be a massive win con for him. So Nam, Slowking, Samurott, Hydrapple, Cleaver, and Crocalor. Okay, so we're looking pretty good. Looking at his weaknesses, he's really weak to Electric. He only has the Hydrapple as a resist, and his Ground Terra Crocalor if he does that. No Flying Switch-ins. Terra Flying Kilowattrol would have went crazy here, actually. So, darn. That was a good shout-out to Cham, if he's watching. One of the kind of front office that we've made together. He recommended Terra Flying, and I ignored it. And now I'm regretting it a little bit, because that would have been massive. But yeah. He's got both of his hazard setting attackers, so he probably leads one of those. I assume Cleavor, but we'll see. Good luck, have fun. And if you're new here, if you would like to subscribe, I would love to keep making videos. I'd love to hit that 1K mark at some point. I know it's not going to happen just making draft videos. I want to make other videos. It's just hard right now, you know? With being laid off and trying to find work. It's hard. So he leads with the Cleavor. He could be Scarfed, and if he's Scarfed, he assumes he's faster than us here. Could be cheeky and go for a Terra Ground, Terra Blast, but I don't think that's the play. I think we just Volt Switch turn 1, pivot out, do a good chunk of damage to him. So do go for the Volt Switch. Does about 50%, which I think is standard. Kilowattrol and the Cleavor. Yeah, 46 to 55 to no bulk Cleavor. And then a Stone Axe is doing something like 20% to Donphan. So we can go ahead and bring that in. So Donphan comes in. He goes for a Tailwind. Okay, he's instantly speed boosting. He definitely could two-shot us with X-Scissor. X-Scissor. If he so chose to, but an Earthquake should knock him out. His switch-ins to an Earthquake are Hydrapple and Enamorous. Either of those coming in wouldn't want to take a gunk shot, but I don't really want to waste a turn being in against this. So I think he might go for a Stone Axe. It makes me want to spin. But if he wants to trade rocks for this, that's okay. So Tailwind tells me he's not choiced in any way. We'll just go for an Earthquake. It should knock him out, unless he's Fizz Def based on how much Kilowattrol did. So you would have to be invested in defense, not health, which would be kind of weird for Cleavor. It goes for a Sword Stance. Oh man, he is just going straight for it. Luckily, we are max attack adamant, so we should take this out. Big Earthquake, and it goes down. Nice. Okay, that was scarier than it needed to be. We do still have to watch out because he has Tailwind for 2 more turns. So he has Enamorous, he has Samurott H. He's got Crocalor. He's got Hydrapple, which probably comes in here, I would imagine. And he's got Slowking G. So glad we got rid of that threat, and we got rid of it without rocks, which is kind of huge. Samurott comes in. Now, there's a very good chance he just goes for Ceaseless Edge. Obviously, Quillfish doesn't mind coming in on this at all. Neither does Slitherwing, realistically. He could knock off, which would be pretty annoying. I do think he just goes for a ceaseless, though, unless he tries to set up a Swords Dance. He is going to be faster than Screamtail, for sure, since Tailwind's up. So yeah, I mean, we're not wanting to take a Razor Shell. Screamtail should take most hits from this unless it's banded. Most 2 hits. So we'll bring that in. If it's Razor Shell, that's actually kind of annoying because the high crit chance can go through our screens. We'll go into the Screamtail, and he goes for Razor Shell. Okay, he is the crit set. Gets the defense drop, so he can't take another. So we do need to pivot out. Question is, does he go for the dark move or the water move? So if we look at Qwilfish, with the Intimidate, we're taking 30% from Razor Shell and a little less from anything else. I think it might have to be our play. It's too scary to go into Sinistcha at this point, and we can stall out his last turn of Tailwind. So unfortunately took a ton of damage on Screamtail, so we're probably only screening up once. The plan was to screen up twice, but the Tailwind definitely messed with us a little there. So we'll get an Intimidate down. He goes for another Razor Shell. Does not crit. Also gets the defense drop. Oh, man. That's tough. So that's a huge amount of damage. Is that banded? Did 99? No. Well, it's probably Adamant, actually, because it says max roll does 97. So I think he's Adamant. Yeah, that's a perfect mid-roll for Adamant. So I think I go back into Screamtail, and at least I can get a Reflect up if he doesn't have hazards. Or if he doesn't go for Ceaseless. Or Aqua... Sorry, if he doesn't have priority. Brain's all over the place. I mean, we could also just drop a Gunk Shot and do like 70%. Which I'm not opposed to. The Qwilfish was supposed to set up later in the game, but I think priorities have shifted. So we do miss, unfortunately. Part of the problem with running Gunk Shot. He does go for Knock. Gets rid of our Eviolite. So without Eviolite, we definitely die to another Razor Shell. Might die to an Aqua Jet. But I don't think I have a better play than to just go for Gunk Shot again, sadly. That's kind of tough because this was our really good breaker into a Fairy Crocolore later in the game. We're going to have to find a new way to break past that, and it's got to be Donphan. We do land Gunk Shot this time, and it almost KOs with a crit. Wow. And a poison. Okay, I'm sorry. That's unlucky to get both. Does go for the Razor Shell, does land it, and it will KO Qwilfish. Okay. So Donphan KO'd the Kleavor. Did we knock this out with poison? We do knock it out with poison. Qwilfish ends 1-1. Kleavor went 0-1, and Samurott ended up going 1-1. So, if we look back at the team, we get rid of Kleavor on the calc. We get rid of Samurott. He didn't set up any hazards with either of them. So he could go into Enamorous, Crocolore, Hydrapple, or Slowking at this point. All of those sound like Screamtail can get a free screen up here. But also, Kilovoltro can get a Volt Switch if he goes Enamorous. Otherwise, Screamtail's way better here. The Crocolore is kind of tough. Luckily, we do have this that can do some damage to it. Losing Qwilfish is not great, though. Oh, we'll go Screamtail. The only way this is a bad play is Enamorous, which is a 1 in 4 chance, which he might do. Hypnos, I believe, is the Slowking. So, not super concerned. Obviously, a Sludge Bomb hurts a lot, but I can just go for a Light Screen. If he decides to do anything cheeky, we can Encore him. He goes for a Toxic. Okay, so we have to Terra with Sinistcha, because Toxic would ruin our plans, which Sinistcha struggles here anyway because Crocolore is unaware. So we're never going to... It's going to take us a while to break through it, honestly. I could Encore the Toxic, because I don't have anything that wants to switch in on it, so I think I will. Oh, he hard switches, okay. I really don't need Reflect at this point, huh? So Crocolore comes in. Encore does nothing. Do we have a good answer to Crocolore at this point? Donphan has Gunk Shot. So if he's Terra Fairy, we have Gunk Shot. And then Ice Spinners for Terra Ground. I don't really know what he wants to do. I'd like to Baton Pass. I'm not sure. What is this? Normally Flamethrower, Slack Off, Will-O-Wisp, etc. Kilowattrel's really not looking great outside of Enamorous. We just need some health on it. So if I do a quick calc, Kilowattrel into Crocolore. Flamethrower is doing about half to us, which isn't great. And if he's Ground Terra, that's horrible. Actually, it's Light Screen, so we should be absolutely fine. We could even go Sinistra and just start trying to 1v1. I think it's tough. I think I'll go Sinistra. Yeah. I don't know if that's the best play because it's kind of our in-game sweeper, but it just doesn't look great into his remaining Pokemon, honestly. He brought the exact Pokemon that kind of beat it. But we do want to go ahead and get Terra if possible. So he will Terra. Is it Fairy? I imagine it's Fairy. I think that's the best enemy. It is Fairy. Okay, nice. So Terra Fairy. Terra Blast. Okay. And that does 41 damage behind Light Screen. 41? Really? Oh, that's Kilowattrel. I was like, it's doing way more. Yeah, that's within no bulk range. Do we want to go ahead and Terra Steel here? That makes us weaker to Hydrapple with Earth Power. It makes us weaker to Enamorous' Earth Power. This thing doesn't get toxic, right? I'm almost sure it doesn't because its evolution doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't get toxic. So we can just go for a Gotcha here. See if we get a burn, maybe. Start chipping down at its health. Do go for a Gotcha. Because obviously it hits around us. Oh, that does huge damage. This is Fizz Def for sure. Wow. Yawn. Okay, that's somewhat annoying. Yeah, that Gotcha. That's looking like just max Fizz Def. Maybe Calm, maybe Bold. I can switch here. How many turns of screen do we have left? I think 5. Oh, can't see because of my own face. 4. Okay. So yeah, I think we definitely switch here. We don't want to sleep fodder this. Slitherwing is not wanting to take a hit. Donphan could definitely Gunk Shot. I do kind of like the Donphan, but he's Fizz Def, so it's not great. He might go for a Slack Off here. Screamtail definitely takes at least 1, and if he doesn't go for an attacking move, we can Encore it. So he goes for Flamethrower. Does 40. You take a little bit of Toxic Chip. We're going to Encore him into Flamethrower, but that's really not helping us because we don't want him clicking Flamethrower if possible. I think, honestly, we go Donphan here. I didn't want to pop our Sturdy if I didn't have to. But I think it's just our best way to break through this. I mean, Gunk Shot's barely doing half, which is kind of crazy. Gleam's not doing anything to him, though. Man, it would have been nice to have Cool Fish right now. Yeah, Gleam's really not doing anything. So I think I will go into the Donphan. So it's probably Slack Off last move. Terra Blast, okay. Terra Blast. Flamethrower. Does 70. Yawn, and we can assume slack off. And Eviolite with Terra Fairy. Is it safer to go for 2 EQs? Probably not. We need the gunk shot. It may not KO here. It'll be close. Depends on if he actually has max Fizz Def or if he's only partially in kind of split defenses. So he's thinking hard about this. Could definitely go into Glow King here. Hopefully goes into Hammerus. That would be cool. Does switch. Ghidorah. Hydrapple. You don't want to take a gunk shot. We do land it. Huge damage. Like 60%. Yeah, so pretty standard. I mean, I don't think it knocks us out in 1 from these calcs, from what I can tell. I mean, these aren't fully invested. It's like an AV set. I don't know how much speed he would run, but this is kind of our only other way to break Crocalor. Otherwise, it's going to be a very slow battle. But I do think we have the opportunity in front of us to KO this. We're going to take it. Okay, so he doubles. What do you double into? Okay, into the Slow King. So we go for an Ice Spinner here. We get to see a little bit about this guy's set. 30-odd%. Light Screen does wear off, so he did stall out my Light Screen. That's max health. Galarian Slow King. Earthquake obviously KOs, so I don't know that he stays in. He might pivot again into the Enamorus. I kind of think he does that. It's kind of risky to go Kilowattrel here, but I think that would be a cool play to try to catch the Enamorus. Kilowattrel should never get KO'd by a hit from Slow King. Obviously, we don't do much back, but it's just kind of a pivot, right? Yeah, he definitely goes to Enamorus here, I think. So I switch first because we're probably faster. Does he also switch, or does he give up the Slow King? Okay, he does switch as well, and Enamorus is coming in, I would imagine. Yep, nice. So one good play we've made during this battle. So Slow King actually showed Toxic. I didn't mark that earlier. So he does get his Regenerator Mons back up, but Enamorus does not want to take a hit from us. Yeah, Volt Switch isn't KOing, but Thunder is. I imagine his switch in is the Hydrapple. Oh, he just stays in. Okay. Well, we do massive damage to that. And then we just kind of have to pick a sack, I think. Which, unfortunately, I believe is the Scream Tail. I did want to get screens back up, but this just loses us a lot of momentum. And everything else is just going to drop to the hit. So I think, yeah, we do just get rid of Scream Tail here, unfortunately. I did almost run enough speed to outrun this. But ended up not. It doesn't matter anyway. It just KOs us. So that's totally fair. Scream Tail did plenty last week, so it's totally fine if it goes down this game. So we've got Enamorus. It's 1 kill so far. Scream Tail ended up going 0-1, which is fine. We will go back into the Kilowattrel. No reason not to. Either we pick up a KO on this or we get Switch Initiative against the Hydrapple. So we'll just go for the Volt Switch. So we just know that this is Moonblast. We don't know anything else about it. So I guess Terra Steel is our option to help us deal with Toxic Slow King. Otherwise, that does always beat the Sinistra set. And Terra Ground is really not doing us any favors on this now that Crocalor is terastallized. So I imagine he switches Hydrapple here. I could have went for Air Slash predicting that, I suppose. But if it's AV, I don't even know that we would have two-shot it from where it was at. Yeah, it's a strong maybe. So he does switch. Oh, brings in the Slow King, though. I'll gladly Volt Switch on you. Yeah, we only do like 20%. It's definitely not AV, though. We know that for sure. So, I mean, Slitherwing could come in here and really threaten this thing with a lot of damage. Do we KO max defense? Yes, Earthquake definitely KOs. And now, could he switch into Enamorus? Yeah. But we should always live a hit if it's not Specs. Alternatively, we go this and we Calm Mind once and get our Terrestrialization, which I think is honestly not a bad play at all. It's weird. Slitherwing was supposed to be an early game guy, and now it looks like he's going to be cleaning up the late game, or at least attempting to. Although, I feel like just Earthquaking this thing is pretty huge. It's just if he goes Enamorus and he Specs, that's a problem. I do think I will go into this, because Booster Slitherwing should still do a lot to the Croc. Yeah, Booster Slitherwing is still doing like 30% per Earthquake. So we'll just dump an EQ here. This might have been a misplay. This might be the misplay of the match that I normally go back and look at, because Sinistcha definitely could have done just as well in this position. But we'll see. If he goes Enamorus, well played. Got me. We'll Wild Charge it on the next turn and hopefully double down. I don't know if he's that bold to go into Enamorus this turn, but he might see that Earthquake is the only way that I KO this, and that's telegraphing what I'm going for. But we'll see. Tough game. Interesting game so far. He definitely did not bring the sets I anticipated. I thought Sub Boulder was kind of crazy. Does switch out. And is it the Crocolore? I believe that's the Crocolore. So it does come in at about 70. Let's see if this does half. Not quite, unfortunately. I can go for one more, see if I can't threaten it with a 2-hit KO. Yeah, so if I do max defense bolds. Yeah, it's doing 24 to 29, which is tough. So a crit might KO it here. I will just keep up some offensive pressure because I won't get this booster again. Does not quite, and he does have slack off. Eventually he will hit me with either a flamethrower or a Terra Blast. Both of them are doing about a fourth to us, so actually I do think we at least run him low on slack offs. Let's keep a calc up of slack offs. So that's 1. That's 2. Two slack offs used, but now he's back up to pretty much full, so he does get to hit us for free here. Makes me want to go into the Sinistcha. I think I will. I know we lose our booster, so Slitherwing loses a lot of its utility, but it's a losing battle. It's 2 Earthquakes for 1 slack off, and he hits us about 4 times. Or actually, no, half that, because I had a light screen up. So yeah, Terra Blast comes out. Hits us for about 90 damage. That's considerable. Into Sinistcha. I mean, that's a max roll if he's no offensive investment at all. I will Terra into Terra Steel here. Does make us weaker into Earth Power and Enamorus. I think I can... I'm thinking the Hydrapple might come in. So I do kind of want to drop 1 Shadow Ball, but I do also want to Matcha Gotcha just to get my health back up a little. I think I will drop 1 Shadow Ball, though. So he does switch. He knows how important it is to the end game. We'll go ahead and get my Terra up. He goes into the Hydrapple. Are you AV? So we are Terra. So he's AV Earth Power, and we're Terra Steel. He is doing a considerable amount of damage. Drop a Shadow Ball. That's not just AV. That's like max special defense AV. That's crazy. I can only imagine he goes for Earth Power here. So we do have our Slither Wing if we want to aggressively switch. Because our other option's Kilowattrel. I do think I will go hard into the Slither Wing here. And we will just be kind of in this war of attrition going back and forth. It does make me really wish I brought some kind of hazards. But we did not. We have our Donphan as a big breaker in the end game, but he's on a limited health, so we're gonna have to be careful. We'll see. I'm pretty sure he goes for an Earth Power here. If I had Calm Minded there, then it would have made it so Earth Power never two-shots me, and I could have tried to 1v1, but it's not really a winning battle. Whoa, that's the first time I've seen that Hydro Apple animation. That's pretty sick. And he goes for Fickle Beam. Okay. It does not get the double damage, which is nice. Obviously, we're a lot weaker than we were, so I think he goes Crocalor here. But just in case he doesn't, I am going to go for a Leech Life just to get some health back. Okay, he does switch back into Crocalor, but we are doing some conditioning. So hopefully at some point we can break the streak and bring in Donphan on this Crocalor and actually do some damage to it. So you do get a Leech Life. We get minimal health back. 21 health. Yeah, so this is tough. We let Quillfish go way too early. It looks so good into this end game. Especially with Aqua Jet being able to take out an Amorous. We really shouldn't have let it go. It's unfortunate that we missed that gunk shot, but it's going to happen. We'll go back into this. Unfortunately, he is kind of just winning this back and forth. He does go for Terra Blast. I think Flamethrower might be better, but it is neutral, so it doesn't matter that much. So, against Hydrapple, if we're Sinisha at +1/+1, Earth Power is doing 34 to 40 to us, and Shadow Ball is doing about 25 to him. So I will go for it once, just so we can kind of try to advance the game state a little bit. Because he's just gaining health back constantly on his stronger mons. So I do Calm Mind. He does stay in. He may go for a Yawn here, which would put us in an awkward position. Goes for Flamethrower. Okay. Hope maybe gets the burn, which would actually be good for us. Okay, does not get the burn. Almost assuredly goes into Hydrapple this turn. I do kind of want a Matcha just to gain health back. I mean, against the Hydrapple, we're doing 25 damage, so we're really not getting any health back. But if it's modest max special attack, that health actually might make the difference. No, we're fine. To go for a Shadow Ball if we so choose. He might stay in with this, though, and if he does, I do want a Matcha. But I do think Hydrapple would be the smarter play for him, so I will go for the Shadow Ball. Okay, he does stay in. So that does reasonable damage. He does Flamethrower again. We'll get us down to where we are threatened pretty heavily by another one. Does he go Hydrapple this turn? Because I don't think we KO him, but I think bringing in Hydrapple does make a lot of sense here. I will go for a Matcha. Okay, he stays in. So we should get enough health back here to live, pretty much guaranteed. And without this guy, I feel like he doesn't have a whole lot of answers to Slither anymore. Slacks off, but I think we win this war with Matcha Gotcha, right? Because we're healing quite a bit. We're back up above half now. I know the Calm Mind doesn't matter against this because it's unaware. But it will matter if he ever decides to switch. So we will Matcha Gotcha again. I'll gladly take these slack offs. That's 3 now. We get quite a bit of health back. We do finally get the burn, so that does pressure him a bit more. Slacks off again. That's 4. I think he kind of has to go Hydrapple now, right? Like, I don't want to be in a position where I'm below half against the Hydrapple, but I think he has to go it at some point. This is kind of telling me maybe he doesn't have Earth Power because, I mean, I am weak to ground, but maybe he decided on other coverage. I mean, I think I go for one Shadow Ball because maybe he switches now. He doesn't switch. Okay, he's really sure he's staying in with this. Slacks off again. That's 5. He's not PP stalling me or anything. Makes me want to go for another Calm Mind with how much he's doing that. Because if I get to +2, then Earth Power is not really doing above 30%, and Shadow Ball is doing 30%, so we're more likely to 1v1. So I will Calm Mind once. And this is just for the matchup against the Hydrapple, not for the Crocalor, of course. Also helps us against fully special Enamorous. Okay, so he finally goes for Yawn. Do we want to sleep is the question, because we're +2/+2. I'd prefer not to take a nap, because that could mean he could get some kind of heals in. What would we switch in? Obviously not Slitherwing. It would have to be Kilowattrel, which doesn't want to be in against Hydrapple. Hydrapple can't set up in any way, right? And Slowking showed Toxic. So I don't think there's any way they break us, at least not easily. I guess it gets Curse, but it wouldn't be that with Fickle Beam. Gets Nasty Plot, so that's a little scary. But that damage it took earlier was so pitiful. Maybe we do take a nap, because I don't want to lose these boosts. I mean, I guess I can Calm Mind, get as defensive as possible for whatever he wants to bring in. Gosh, I don't know. It's hard. I feel like I'm so set up at this point that it would be hard for him to break through. So I think I will go for one more Calm Mind. And we hope we wake up fast. He goes for Flamethrower here. I think we take like 3 of... Was that a crit? Yeah. Well, now we don't take 3 of those. So that's not great. That kind of defeats our answer to a lot of his Pokemon. We will take our 1-turn guaranteed sleep, and then I guess we try to Matcha Gotcha back up, because it's not like this is doing anything against anything else. Unless we want to save it for Slowking, because if it's Toxic, maybe it's only moves that don't hit Steel types. But if we switch out now, that's just so silly, because we've got to burn a turn anyway. I think I might go Kilowattrel here. Nah, I think I burn 1 turn of sleep. That crit sucks, because we definitely could have taken 3 Flamethrowers before, and now it's looking more like a roll. So 181 down to 85. It is a roll. Now we can wake up. So if we look at Crocalor, Flamethrower 106, he's maxing. He only has 1 hit that can hit 108, and everything else is 104 or lower, so we should live. We do stay asleep. Not preferred. He does not get the roll. Sorry, you can't see because of the logo there. That's kind of awkward. Now we have a 50-50 chance of waking up. And if we wake up, we heal back, and maybe we take another. I could keep this as sleep fodder, I suppose. And, of course, we get the max turns of sleep. He heals, though. So he just gave me... Or we didn't get max turns necessarily, but he just gave me another chance to wake up and heal back with Matcha Gotcha. So that's 6 slack-offs. Which is smart. We only have physical Pokemon and Kilowattrel in the back. Alright, we wake up. We do land Matcha Gotcha. Does this get us back above 100? We heal back to 105. So once again, he has to get a max roll. Does not get it. Goes down to 3 health, but we're alive. Obviously, we don't take another Flamethrower. He probably goes for it, unless he decides to slack off because he wants the healing. But if he slacks off, 2 Matcha Gotchas will get us back above the threshold we need to be at. So we Matcha Gotcha. We crit, and I think that's a crucial turn to crit. Does that get us above 100? It gets us to 117. Oh, that's massive. Flamethrower will not KO us without crit now. Does not. He gets the roll, though. He finally gets a burn with Flamethrower. It is only 10% compared to my 20. But wow, that's crazy. He nullifies our leftovers. So Sinistra's really never getting above 25 or 36 health again outside of Matcha Gotcha. He takes burn, and he will lose his Crocolore here. So what does that mean for the end game? I can quickly go in, get rid of my Screamtail, get rid of my Sinistra because it's pretty much gone. His Crocolore might as well be gone. And that means we somehow have to beat 2 AV Pokemon and an Enamorus with 2 slow physical attackers and a Kilowattrel. So our physical attackers beat his AV Mons, our Kilowattrel beats his Enamorus. So I think in the off chance he saves this as a sack, I do think I want to go for Shadow Ball. It was just safer, and Matcha Gotcha might have healed us, 2 health off of how much he had left. So Sinistra does get another KO. Not a great set of events there. I think healthy Sinistra would have been way better to hold on to for Slowking. We can save it if we choose to because it would help us against Slowking. But we don't have a great switch in into Enamorus, and we only have 1 Pokemon left that deals with this in Kilowattrel. So I think it is safer to just throw away Sinistra, as much as I hate to. I think it did its job. If he locks into Earth Power here, that's good for us. And then we can go Kilowattrel Volt Switch. So we'll go for a Shadow Ball. He Earth Powers, as expected, but I was not willing to make the read. It does knock us out, but Sinistra did a great job handling Crocolore. Honestly, I think if he saved Crocolore there and went into Hydra Apple, it beats the rest of our team. Like, we just don't have anything that can break it. So we'll go into Kilowattrel. The easy play here for him is to go into Hydra Apple, but then he has to deal with Donphan. So I do think I will just Volt Switch. Crocolore is gone. Enamorus has Earth Power. He knows that the Enamorus is very important to his endgame. Goes into the Slowking. I really wish I had Ice Shard all of a sudden. So we will Volt Switch. Earthquake from Slither no longer KOs this from full, so we do have to go into Donphan, and I do think we have to make a 50-50. Which I hate. 50-50s are always horrible. Last time he hard switched into Enamorus. So the question is, do we think he's going to do that again? Because he has 2 switches that can take an Earthquake. Slowking is the only thing that can't take an Earthquake, but Slowking is the only thing holding back Kilowattrel from sweeping with a Flying type move. Slitherwing would have been a cool play here. I just don't think we could risk it. We saw that Ice Spinner did something like 30% last time. We know that Earthquake should KO this. I wish I had Ice Shard so badly right now instead of Rapid Spin, funnily enough. I will just go for Quake. He does stay in. Nice. Does it KO? Does KO. Oh, Donphan. Beautiful monster. Alright, so what is our better bet in beating Hydrapple at this point? Because we do kind of have to sack something to the Enamorus. So Donphan now has 2 KOs. Something got a KO. Something else got a KO. Enamorus. Enamorus actually has claimed 2 so far. So. Does go back into Enamorus. So we have a decision to make here. First of all, do we think he specs? Because If he's not Specs, he doesn't KO us. Now, Donphan into Hydrapple. Ice Spinner's doing 80 to 95, whereas Slitherwing is less likely to die, and Leech Seed without booster, or Leech Life without booster is doing 65 to 78. So both of those can realistically get Hydrapple in range of Air Slash, which is all we're after. So I do think I just go for Ice Spinner here. Grass Knot. Yo, that's sick. That wouldn't have caught Kilowattrel or Slitherwing, but that is fantastic prep. Wow. So I don't know that he specs. But Grass Knot into Donphan. Yeah, that blows us back regardless. I mean, if he wasn't specs, it might have been like a min roll to survive, but probably not. So we go Kilo here. I think we're okay into this end game. I think we go Kilo. We either Volt Switch here, and then we Leech Life with Slitherwing, or we Air Slash. So if we look at Kilowattrel into Hydrapple, if it's AV, Air Slash is doing 30-something%. If we Volt Switch, I think Leech Life will knock it down enough that Air Slash will KO it. So I think Volt Switch is safer just to not risk that 5% accuracy. This has been a fantastic game, though. My opponent has played this super well. So he does let us claim an Amorous, which is huge. So I do think, unless he's got some spicy tech on Hydrapple, I do think we can clean this up with Leech Life into Air Slash. Because Leech Life should give us health back. So if we look at Slitherwing into Hydrapple, I mean, without the booster, Leech Life is doing 65 to max health, no defense, 65% minimum. Air Slash is doing 33% minimum, but that's like a weird mixed Hydrapple, like special tag and special defense. So this all comes down to his investment. He's not even at full, though, which is pretty nice to see. So Leech Life comes out, huge damage. Should get us right up to full, right? Yeah, gets us to full. He goes for Fickle Beam. Did not get the double damage, but the double damage wouldn't have KO'd us, which means unless this thing's Quick Claw, we did manage to pull out the W. It's not Quick Claw, or it didn't proc, but we get the Leech Life. Slitherwing gets the KO, and that is the closest match we've had this season that I've come out with a win. So super happy about that. Can you imagine if against those 4 Pokemon we had Quillfish alive? Literally, Gunk Shot cleans up Hydrapple and Crocalor. Definitely 2 shots Crocalor. Crunch takes out Slowking, and Aqua Jet picks off an Amorous. Like, that would have been so sick. Quillfish could have gotten a 6 sweep, but we were stupid, and I threw it away, let it go. So we had to struggle and climb our way back up. I was so worried. If he had saved that Crocalor for late game, I think our chances were lower. I think that Kilowattrel just didn't have enough damage to deal with Crocalor, even if it was max physical. Kilowattrel into, let's just see, Kilowattrel into Crocalor. That is, say, Bold. I mean, Thunderbolt was doing 36, and he was never one-shotting us. He was always only two-shotting us. So Thunderbolt could have done like 80% to him. So he would have had to gotten all the way to full. But wow, that was a really good game. That shouldn't have been as much as a struggle if we had just kept Quillfish and sacked something else, which is my bad. And also sacking Screamtail and losing our screens early definitely hurt us a bit. And plus we could have come in later with Encore, right? We could have come in later and Encored up that Crocalor into Slack Off, and we would have been in an amazing position. But regardless, we did win. We did manage to play our pieces well enough that we had enough gas in the tank at the end of the game. And we come out of this, I believe we're 4-1 now, and we're at plus 15 differential. So we're on a winning streak. We've got some tough battles ahead of us, but I think we're doing great. So if you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, and I will see you next week.